Lucy Keeling. It's lovely to see you. We met each other about a year ago, didn't we, when we had just got the news that we were in the last two of the Chocolate Search for a Star competition. And this time last year, we were not published authors, but now in 2020, we are both published authors, which is really exciting. And you're about to have your second book. You're about to have your second book release in the end of this month in May. And I've worked on the sequel, which hopefully is coming out later in the summer for the house that Alice built. So I thought I'd catch up with you and ask you, how do you feel as a published author now? How do you feel?
Still in shock. It really surprises me that somebody would put my name and published author in the same sentence. That still surprises me. I mean, it's gorgeous and it's lovely, and I'm very, very grateful. I'm still racked with imposter syndrome. I still expect somebody just to take this all from under me and go, sorry, we meant somebody else. So I'm okay. How do you feel a year on that you're now a published author?
Well, I just keep going on the internet and Googling myself. I'm still there because I still very much expected all to disappear. But no, I'm still there. I'm actually still there. And it's rather nice, actually. When I'm not thinking about the bigger picture, when I'm actually just thinking about, I've written that book, it's just a really nice thing to have done, to have achieved something that I wanted to achieve since I was a child. Which is possibly why I'm still Googling myself, it's like a way of pinching yourself, isn't it? Pinch me, pinch me.
Yeah.
No, but I wonder if everybody feels like this, maybe they do, I don't know.
Maybe that's how we know we've made it. That's how we know we're published authors, because we feel like all the other published authors.
Yes, we'll have to do a poll, won't we? And anyway, first of all, your book, the first that you've had published, is called Make It Up to You. Now, before we talk about your second book, what is Make It Up to You about?
Oh, I haven't got anything to do the blurbs or anything on. It's a series of a series of books about a group of people, a group of friends, that are all in their 20-somethings, and so the first one predominantly focuses on the story of Sophie and Marcus. Sophie is on the cusp of online greatness. She's very nearly a social media influencer with loads of makeup tutorials and all the stuff. But it starts to stagnate, and she starts to no longer see an increase in followers. And her friends basically suggest that something that Sophie's been toying the idea around is the idea that she should do more in more natural light, in more an outdoor space. And so, lo and behold, they have to get a gardener in to sort out the garden and landscape it all. And he would like his business to be a bit bigger, so he uses Sophie's social media to increase his business, and does the garden for virtually free. And Sophie then has all this gorgeous, lovely outside space, and it creates a lot of content. And wouldn't you believe it, they don't necessarily get on all that well at first, and then
they might.
Loveliness happens, and we go from there.
I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It's very contemporary, and it was very much lovely to see sort of how all of the friends interacted, even though it primarily was about those two. But two of the characters that are in that are the main focus of the sequel, aren't they? So tell us about that.
So without giving too much of book one away, just in case there's anybody that hasn't read it, Polly and Bailey is the focus of book two. Polly is Marcus's sister, and Bailey is Marcus's best mate. So it's a bit like, ooh. And basically something happens, and in order to make things better for somebody else, Polly and Bailey end up in a fake relationship. Now, that wouldn't be a problem if they hadn't had a scorching hot kiss in book one. And so it's all about the lines getting a bit blurred between fake relationship and can they actually just be friends when all this is going on? And then there's a whole host of other gorgeous stuff that's happening, and then there's quite a bit of for fans of book one that really liked Sophie and Marcus, they're still in book two, and their relationship progresses in there as well. So I think there's bits and pieces for everybody, I think.
Good. I'm looking forward to it because I liked the dynamics between all of the friends, and I was quite intrigued. I was quite intrigued with what was going on with the others. So I've ordered it already. It's there waiting. As soon as it is published, it's going to be on my Kindle.
Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. When is it being published?
May 26th.
Oh, very exciting.
Oh, and for anybody that has read book one and is interested in what Maya, one of the characters, might do, what Maya might do for a living, well, more is revealed in book two.
Oh, good, because I
then it will be Maya's.
Know what she did for a living, because it was my mind was going everywhere when I was reading that.
And then it will be her book in book three. So then we'll definitely know what she's been up to.
So a trilogy then?
I already know.
Really? How do you know? It's in your power, isn't it? That's brilliant. From no books to 3 books in a year, really.
That's a bit terrifying, isn't it?
No, it's brilliant.
Yeah, well, the third one's not written yet, though, so let's face ourselves.
It'll be great. It'll be great, because you must be in your stride by now. Now getting confidence from number 1, getting published, that must have given you some confidence in what you're doing.
I'm
golden.
Yeah, I think my personality doesn't sort of lend me to confidence building in any particular sort of great fashion. I think I was lucky in so much that I'd gotten some of book 2 written before book 1 was out, and so it I think if I'd have done, I'm going to ask you the question in a second, but I think if I'd have done book 1 and then waited for that to be published and then done book 2, I'd have been a bit second album-y, like a bit and basically what I'm trying to get at is, now that I'm sitting down to try and write book 3, I'm really feeling the pressure.
Oh yeah. I suspect that's normal though.
I hope so. I just don't want to let anybody down. There's some really, really gorgeous, lovely fans that have read the book and just can't wait for the next one. And they're the ones that I'm like, oh my God, I really hope that you like it. I really, really hope that you like it.
I'm sure it'll be fab. I really did genuinely enjoy the first one because it was different and it was about social media and it's very contemporary, actually. So I thought that was very clever.
But I tell you what, though, I liked. I liked the house that Alice built.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I did genuinely enjoy it. And I just want to say as well, really quickly, for anybody that might be watching this, there's a lot of talk about like armchair travel and things like that at the moment. And I just think your book is so perfect. So perfect. For anybody that wants to feel like they're not in the same 4 walls, or just wants like a change of scenery, your book is perfect for that.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind. I don't think, excuse me, got an itch here. Well, I'm sitting in my dining room, and just to show you that I do love Portugal, because the house that Alice built is set in Portugal. I lived in Cascais near Lisbon a long, long time ago, and I've got quite a lot of things in my dining room that are Portuguese. And that is it's a photograph of the prom between Cascais and Estoril on a windy day. And there I've got a thing about ceramic windows and doors, and there you see that is, I've got about 5 of these of different sizes. That's a ceramic decorated window, because there are a lot of them in Portugal and I love them. There's also an azulejo, which is a tile painting, on the other wall, but if I pick up my computer I'll probably drop it and you'll see it again. So I'm just saying it's very pretty, actually. So I am a fan. And so I think I wanted to write about a place I loved very much, and when I'm here, take myself off there. So I think that was part of me writing it in that when I moved back to the UK, it was a very long time ago. I did miss it dreadfully because I found that I changed when I moved there, much like Alice, only in many different ways, to be honest. Many different ways, because I'm not Alice, even though some of my friends seem to think I am. I wanted to write something that took me back there, so I hopefully have, within the descriptions, made it sound and feel like you're in Portugal, as well as telling the story, because I sat here and wrote it, and I hadn't been back to Cascais for 15 years until last November. So after the book was published, I go to Lagos in the Algarve a lot. I'm there 2 or 3 times a year, but I hadn't been back to Cascais. And last November, I went back to Lisbon with my youngest daughter, because she hadn't been back since she was 6 years old, to Lisbon. And we stayed there, took a day trip to Cascais. And although it's changed a little bit, it didn't feel any different. And I walked into the square where a lot of the action takes place, and I was a bit apprehensive because I thought, oh, this is bound to have changed. And it had a bit, but it hadn't. And 15 years after I'd last been there, not expecting to know anyone, lo and behold, I did. Somebody, a friend of ours, had left, come back again. Yeah, waved. We had a catch up. It was wonderful. And so, so it hadn't changed. It hadn't changed at all. And that was nice, because I've been writing about it. If it had changed, I'd be really disappointed. But it's helped me in writing the sequel, because in the sequel, there's a lot more of Lisbon. There's Cascais, there's Lisbon, there's a bit more south of the river as well. And yeah, it really helped me to sort of write the sequel as well. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to need it. We're going to need it.
Yes.
We need it.
Yes, because I can't go to Portugal at the moment, and I miss it very much. Yes. So yeah, it just goes to show that no experience is wasted. If you're a writer, you can just sort of dive into stuff from the past, and then it's there, isn't it? So that's the beauty of it.
Very true. Very true.
Blue skies and sea and stars and lots of bougainvillea. Can I just show you something? I love bougainvillea, but I'm famous for plants. And obviously bougainvillea is quite difficult to grow here, and I haven't got a conservatory or anything, but last year I did buy a bougainvillea, which I sort of killed, but look. Look, it's actually got flowers on it.
Wow.
Flowers on a bougainvillea.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it just goes to show you. I don't know how long that's going to last. That's why I'm holding it up to you, so I've got a witness.
Proof.
Not. So when you wrote, not the sequel, but the second book in the series, you have mentioned that, you'd already started writing it, so it gave you confidence. But what had you learned along the way? Because obviously you hadn't finished it when the first one was published. So what had you learned, the whole experience, that made it maybe easier to write the sequel?
I had, I think a few things, some very specific things, and some more general things. I think, no, this is going to sound ludicrous, the fact that I had done it before kind of lent itself to making me think that I could perhaps do it again. Yeah. That probably sounds outrageous, but the fact that I had done it, so there was every chance that I could do it again, so why not? And I think going through the editing process that I went through with book one was really eye-opening. And I would like to say to anybody that's watching this that might be an aspiring author who is concerned about their grammar, if I can do it, oh dear me. There's some very specific lessons that I learned, and it was the editing process for me that did that. And if I use the word just one time in the first draft, I used it 50 million times, just in nearly every other sentence. It was, yeah. So that was something that I was very much keeping an eye on for the second book. And I know that's very, very specific, but I try and, so now I've gone through 2 lots of editing processes. I try and pick up more each time so that eventually my editor will just be like, oh, you've done it. That's not going to happen.
We want a little star, don't we? A little star.
Yes.
You've done. Oh, yeah, well done from the last time. You haven't used the word enveloped. That was me. I thought it's a good word.
Got that one. Put that one in there.
I used it a lot, and so because I use so a lot when I'm talking. So that was in it a lot. So what you mean? And yes, it's like a klaxon goes off, doesn't it? Or an alarm. There's too many envelopes there. So find another word. I've actually bought myself a thesaurus now. Not an online.
Oh.
I've actually got a physical thesaurus because I hadn't got one. I'd lost mine from years ago, so I bought one. So I know what else to use instead of enveloped. In.
So what about you? What did you take? What did you learn from the process?
I've been writing The House that Alice Built for 8 years on and off, so it's very much a project for me. But what I found was that I have always accepted that I needed a bit of guidance from other people. So I like learning things. So I got stuck with The House that Alice Built because I couldn't finish it. And I did an online course a long time ago. And my tutor, strangely enough, was Margaret James, who is also a Ruby fiction author. It was about... It was about 7 years ago. So it was sort of like about 13 lessons. So you have so many. And what she did was she actually helped me develop the characters and think about the storyline better. So I actually was able to finish it because I'd got to a stage where it was about something, but I didn't know what I wanted from the end. And she really helped me with that. And of course, that course ended and I was left with this manuscript, which I then carried on working on and then got enough confidence to send it out. And I got lots and lots of lovely rejection letters. It's not you, it's us rejection letters. But one day I got one that was a rejection, but it also said, but you have got something here, so we think you should carry on with it. And you know, when you get lots of rejections, you go, yes, I'll take it. And I realised whether that was going to be the published book or whether I was going to write another one, I might as well learn from what I'd already done by using The House that Alice Built. So I then got a mentor from a literary consultancy called Cornerstones, a lady called Steph Roundsmith, who helped me a lot because basically she changed the way I wrote it because it was from 3 characters' perspectives, third person. Yeah. And she said, well, I think you ought to make it just from Alice's. So it is in the third person, but it's very much Alice's story now. That was painful. Yeah. That was very painful.
I can imagine.
So I had to but the story was already there. I just had to change the perspective of it. And it was then I sent it off to the Search for a Star competition. And ta-da, I won. And so I still had a few edits to make, but I'd already gone through the process once with Margaret and once with Steph. And so I got a bit of confidence with that and then more edits. And then I sort of thought, well, they like that one. Now I've got to write another one because I'm like you, I didn't have a sequel in mind, to my mind, The House that Alice Built. So the ending, although I think, for me, the ending was an ending because, excuse me, I'm doing this to you can see me, I'm getting excited. That's my computer's jumping up and down. I'm not having and so to me, I'd already finished it, but actually you can see how the story could be taken on. So for me, the difficulty was thinking of a storyline that would take on Alice's story that was, that you know, you would expect to happen to her. So she had to have developed, so she couldn't be the same person at the beginning of the book. Mm-hmm. The second book, she had to be the person at the beginning of the second book. She was at the end of the first book. Do you see what I mean? So she had to have learned something. But then I had to give her, I had to give her some challenges, and that was difficult because I've made her up. I don't want to upset her, but I've upset her. And then I had to think about the other characters and then who I wanted to bring to prominence in there's a secondary story going on, which characters were not going to be in it. So that was the challenge for me, to write something different, but that was connected to the first one, because that's not what I had in mind. So hopefully I've done that. So I feel I had more confidence because somebody said, we'd like to publish your book, and they published my book, because I keep checking and it is still there. And so that the confidence was that. I've got a sign that says your internet connection is unstable there, so hopefully that hasn't come up on the screen. So I think it's just always learning. I'm always learning. I think everybody always is, and you never know. Book 3, which I started planning now, which is not to do with Alice, it's something entirely different. I'd have learned all of the things that I've learned from all of the rejections and all of the editing and all of the advice and guidance I got, and hopefully it will be different but better in a different way. I don't know. So what advice would you give to anyone that was maybe like we were 2 years ago, aspiring writers sending our maybe manuscripts out into a void, really? But we carried on. What advice would you give?
I think again, trust me to always have 2 different answers for any question that you ask me, but one would be to find your own way to write a story. I struggled for a good few years because I just thought as a writer, I will put my pen to paper and it will just emerge. It will just it'll just flow out of me into existence.
Yes.
And for some it does, and I just think that's absolutely amazing. I am not clever enough for that. I have to at least plan out the foundations, and as soon as I realised that I was a planner and that I couldn't just sit down and let it go, that was a game changer for me. As soon as I clicked onto the fact that I was a planner, my productivity skyrocketed, my ability to create an entire story with different themes and narratives, and that for me was an absolute game changer. So I think find the style that works for you and be comfortable in that would be my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice would be I think that when you are writing, especially at the beginning when you've not been published yet, it's incredibly lonely and it's incredibly isolating. You are the only person in the entire world that can take those characters, that storyline, that narrative that you've got in your mind. You are the only person, unless you're co-writing, in which case, brilliant. But you are the only person that can make that story happen. You are the only person that can get that story out there. And you don't know how long it's going to take you to get to some sort of goal. You don't know how long it's going to take you to get that. Yay, we'd love to publish your work. That's amazing. I felt like it was an invisible finishing line for a marathon. You just had no idea where you were in that race. You have no idea how close you are to meeting your goal until suddenly somebody turns around and says, Lucy, we'd love to have your work, and you're like, what? So the thing that got me through all of that was having that support and a community and a tribe. That was what got me through that. Having people, family and friends, but also all over social media. There's some absolutely outstanding Twitter groups and Facebook groups, and they're absolutely amazing. And if I can, I'm just going to do a quick shout out to Chicklet and Prosecco Facebook group and the UK Rum Chat group. But in particular, those 2 groups have really helped push me further forward, kept me going all along. And do you know what? They were the loudest to shout for all of the successes that then came about. And it's thanks to that community to keep me going.
Yeah. It is important to have support, isn't it? Because I started writing this book so long ago, that kind of social media wasn't there because I'm very old. It wasn't quite there then, but I am, because of the work I do, I have been able to talk to people that have actually been published quite a lot. And that did help me feel that it was something achievable, because I used to always, one of the questions I was always having to ask, because I used to record extra content for a podcast, was, what advice would you give to a aspiring writer? And the part of me always wanted one of them to say, well, what you do is you go out by the light of the full moon, turn 3 times, drink 4 glasses of Prosecco, say I'm a writer, and there you are, you'll be fine. None of them ever said that. They just used to say, well, before you do anything, you've just got to write something down, really. And I think it's hard work. And I was just meeting very tenacious people. I know, what a disappointment. Very tenacious people that would just keep going and very hardworking. And I just thought, well, I've just got to do it, because I'm not even, when I first started doing that, I haven't even finished a book. So I thought, if I finish a book, I'll have achieved that. Then if I can finish, I'll have achieved that. So for me, it was being around people that had got to what I wanted to. But I also rather enjoyed writing for the sake of it, because nobody asked me to. You know, I could have been drinking coffee and scrolling through the internet, or I could have been booking holidays, or I could be swimming. I didn't. So there were times when I just chose to write, but nobody'd asked me to. So there was that. You've got to have some element of really wanting to do it, and then just take all the encouragement you can get. So there are courses and things like that. And I also have got, like you, very supportive people around me. And I did send off my manuscripts at different stages to friends that I know would read it, that would give me confidence. And that did happen, because then it makes it feel real. So then you're writing something, and even though it's not published, it's still a real thing because somebody's reading it. And part of letting it go, because sometimes you can write something and be too frightened to send it off to anyone. But if you want to get published, you have to do that. And so
you have to let it go.
Yeah, that was quite important. So get supportive people around you, not people that are going to criticise you, people that applaud you for doing it, not just published. People that love books. They're always good to be around. I've got lots of friends that love books. We talk about books all the time. I'm new to the social media thing, but that is very helpful, because now you're talking to people that love books. So I would say, if you're wanting to be published, you should write mainly because you want to write, because it's something that you really want to do. Celebrate it anyway. Be around people that love books. And then get encouragement from them, and always learn, I'd say, because I still am, and I'm at a different stage of my life to you. I think this is a nice thing to point out, that I've got grown-up children that have left home. You've got young children who are at home, obviously a lot more because of the current lockdown. But we both at the same stage as our writing career. We've both this time last year had just got to this stage of the competition. We both had our first books published within months of each other last year. You are about to your second book published in May, the end of this month. I'm waiting for the edits to come in for my second book, and we're at different stages. So I also think that you can be a writer. It's marvellous. You can be a writer at any age, actually. I hope to be doing this till I'm 115. I don't know about you.
I don't think I could stop. That's the thing. I don't think, I mean, it might not be out getting published all the time or anything like that, but I will always have something that I will want to, tell people.
Yes. I just want to go and make things up about someone that doesn't exist.
Yeah, always.
They're not, and whoever it is will always love the sea and looking up at the sky, I think. So that's it. The constant theme is sea and sky. I couldn't tell you the rest of it. Anyway, Lucy, it's been absolutely lovely.
You found your brand.
Yes, one day, like last year, we'll be able to meet in a coffee shop again. Won't that be lovely?
That was so good.
It was, wasn't it?
Oh, that would be brilliant. It was so brilliant.
Yes, and we'll be able to do that again in the not too distant future. In the meantime, thank you very, very much. My phone's gone. Do you know, my phone went and I put it on mute and it's still gone. Anyway, so thank you very much, Lucy. I'm looking forward to reading the next book very soon, and we'll catch up in person as soon as we can. So, bye.
Thank you so much, Chris. Take care.
Bye.